Using the data from table 5.1 on page 99 of the textbook, let's learn how to work out the F statistic in the Friedman test. You can see here we have 7 observations. There are 7 employees in the company, and the data measures the number of tardiness, or the number of days they're being late to work. This month that no penalty was imposed, and the second month the manager tries to take away $10 from their paycheck every time they're being an employee being late, right? The second month the strategy was to increase the penalty from $10 to $20. So the repeated measures are the number of time or number of days our employee is being late to work. Okay, and this is a formula. You can find this formula in the textbook as well. Shows you how the Friedman statistics is calculated. In this formula, we have n. That's quite straightforward. N is the number of observations. So our example have an n of 7. And also have this k. K is the number of measures that have been taken on each observation. So we have 3 repeated measures: baseline, month 1, and month 2. So in our example, k equals 3. Up to this point, the only thing we don't know is this RI squared. What is this? This is what we're trying to figure out. This is actually the squares of the ranks from the observations. So when we try to figure out how to do the ranks and how to do the square, how to sum it together, the most important thing we need to know is that the ranking is done within one single observation. Here is what I mean by that. Let's take employee 1 as an example. Okay, this particular employee was late to work in the baseline month for 16 times, was late 13 times in month 1, and late 12 times in month 2. So the numbers 16, 13, and 12 are being ranked. So we gave 1 to the lowest value, 2 to the next one, and 3 to the highest. Then we're going to repeat the same process for the other observations. So employee number 2, month 3 has lowest number, so it's rank 1. Month 2 has the lowest number, month 1 has the next lowest, and the baseline month has the highest number. And for employee number 3, it's the opposite. It's 1, that's for the baseline month, that's the least number of being late, and least number of days of tardiness, 7. And 2 have the number is 8, and now 3 was given the last month because the highest number of tardiness. So I'm going to repeat doing this for all the observations I have. So for number 5, the lowest ranking is for month 1, and next is month 2, and baseline month. So now you can see that the ranking is done within a single observation. That's why we only have 1, 2, 3. We don't go beyond 3 since we only have 3 repeated measures. So when the ranking is completed, we are ready to do the calculation to figure out what the RI squared is. RI, first one, is R1. R1 is the first measure. Here is a baseline month. What we do is find out the sum, the summation. So I'm going to do sum, then summation is those 7 numbers put together. Okay, so when we add those 7 numbers together, we get 19. Then we're going to repeat this for the second measure, which gave us R2. So I stands for from 1 all the way to K. Here, K has happened to be 3. So from 1 to 3. I'm going to just copy and paste. And you can tell right now the summation of those 7 numbers is 11, and total of this 7 numbers 12. Okay. We are actually ready to calculate the FR, the Friedman statistic. Let's do this. I'm going to say this is FR equals, and let's just do it step by step. Take the time, okay? So we're going to have 12, start with 12 on the numerator and divide by, in the denominator we have this n equals 7 and times k equals 3, then times k, which again it's 3 plus 1. Okay, that's the denominator here. That's the first part of the formula. Then when we do this, we need to use this part to times the summation of the r squared we're going to figure out. So we're going to figure out, okay, what's the total of r1 squared plus r2 squared plus r3 squared. So it just goes like this. R1, when you find a square, is a number times itself. Then you plus, since we have a summation sign, you plus R2 times itself. Okay, then you do plus R3 times itself. Okay, that's the first big part of this formula. Then you do minus 3 times n. N is 7. You do times k plus 1. Okay, and here we have an answer, which happened to be, if you round up, it's 5.429. Okay, once you calculate this F statistic, that's the obtained value for the Friedman test, then you need to use K, which is 3, N is 7, and alpha equals 0.05 to look up the critical value in table B.5 at the end of the textbook. Okay, if you use those values to look up the critical value, you will find a critical value of 7.14. The observed value we have, or the obtained value we have, is 5.429, which is lower than the critical value of 7.14. So we fail to reject the null hypothesis. The conclusion from this study is that the strategies to penalize employees for their tardiness behaviors didn't really work. It's not making significant changes in the number of days they're being late to work. This is what we do, the Friedman test we do when we do not have tied scores in our data set. If there happen to be scores that tied, we have to use a different formula to calculate the F observed. Okay, before the end of the video, I do want to remind you that the relationship between the division and the summation here is a multiplication. Okay, that's a multiplication. So that's it. I hope this is helpful for you to learn the test.